Hi, I'm Danny with Central Florida Lifestyle, and today I am here with Christina Martin, and today we're going to talk about a drowning prevention initiative that's being implemented by Seminole County. Christina, how are you doing today?
Yeah, doing good. Thank you. Thank you for having me. So Seminole County has just been really amazing at trying to help us push water safety in that county and in our community. And we kind of started this a little less than a year ago when my husband joined Seminole County as a firefighter. So they've been helping us with our water safety initiatives in Seminole County since he's kind of been on board. Once my husband joined as a firefighter, we were speaking with Doreen, who is the PIO there, and she was just really a wonderful advocate for water safety. They do a lot in Seminole County on education, and so we had the opportunity to kind of work hand in hand with them and just try and help push the water safety initiative. And they're really, really supportive in the community, and they really are looking forward to making sure that all of the families in that area know and understand water safety awareness and education. We did receive the donation from the Seminole County Sheriff's Office Community Fund, which is like the nonprofit there, and so thankful for that because we had previously raised money to be able to provide 100 door alarms, and then we had another donation from DCF, Department of Children and Families, for 50 alarms, so that's 150 alarms, and they were gone in just a couple weeks. So there's really a need. But the door alarms that we have purchased, we were able to purchase 188 with their donation, which is wonderful. And they were distributed to 3 different library branches in Seminole County. So the way these door alarms work is they are going to basically be, and I wish I should have brought one, there's double stick tape. And so the alarm part and then the door part is gonna be able to be separated, and you're gonna put with the double stick tape, one on the sliding glass door part and then one on the other part of the wall that doesn't move. And then when it's disconnected from each other, you'll hear that alarm sound. And there's different functions on the alarm, and these are battery operated. So it's very important that if they get one of these alarms or if they have one at home, that those batteries are regularly changed and that it's kept up to date and made sure that it's functioning properly. But there's different functions. So you can have it off, where if the door's open, there's no sound. You can have it on the chime mode. So if the door's open, it goes deep and it stops. And then you can have it on the alarm sound, which is what it needs to be on as a barrier for the pool. And the alarm function is going to, as long as that door is open, that alarm's going to sound. And the loudness of it is very similar to a smoke detector. I mean, it's very loud. And so it's very easy to install. There's instructions on the actual door alarm, and you can Google it or find it on YouTube as well. I love that you asked that question. So the 4 keys to water safety from our perspective are just so important in preventing drownings because as parents, you have kids, they're kind of all over. And so from our experience, we laid our son down for a nap and he was able to find his way outside to our backyard pool when we thought he was supposed to be safe in his crib, sleeping, where we're not watching him because he's sleeping. So there are instances where you don't watch your kids, and there's instances where you need extra protection. So that's why we have the 4 keys to water safety. So the first one is adult supervision. Now, this is key. This is the #1 way to prevent a drowning. If an adult is always watching that child, a drowning is not going to occur. As long as the adult has the capability and the knowledge and understanding of what to do if a child falls in, they can easily pull them out, and that's fine as long as they're watching them within arm's reach. And while you're at the water, it's important that you always assign a water watcher. So there's many drownings that occur where there's a pool party or a family gathering or a birthday party, and they're either intending to be in the water or they're not, but there's an open pool there. And so a water watcher is basically when you assign an adult to watch the water for a specific amount of time. And during that time, their job is not to go check in on, the barbecue food to see if it's cooked, and their job is not to go inside and help assist with another child, and their job is not to be on their phone. Their job is to watch the water the whole time. And so that's so important for drownings that are occurring with numerous people, loved ones around the pool, and they're silently, quietly slipping under the water because drownings are quick and silent. New research has shown that a child can drown in 30 seconds. So it's so quick. And then also drownings are quiet because they want to close their mouth so that they don't have water come in. And so when their mouth is closed, they're not making noise. And so adult supervision is the #1 way to prevent drownings. As a mom, I know that you can't watch your kids 100% of the time. It's impossible. Like I mentioned, we laid our son down for a nap. I wasn't watching him while he slept, and most parents aren't going to stand over their kids and watch them every single time they lay them down for a nap or for bedtime. So in those instances where you can't watch your kids when they are napping, when you are sleeping, if you use the restroom, these are all instances where you are not going to have your eyes glued on your child. And these are things that we do every day. So in those cases, we recommend barriers. So different barriers, including the door alarms that we're providing to the Seminole County library systems, are so important. And in the state of Florida, there's 5 accepted pool barriers that are allowed under the law that was put in place in 2000. So I'll go over what those barriers are. There's a pool fence, which most people are familiar with. And when you think of a barrier, that's what you think of. And then you have a pool net, which is a safety covering that goes over, and you can have a certain amount of weight in the middle of that net and it won't collapse. Then you have a pool alarm, which is an alarm that actually goes into the pool. Then you have a door alarm, which is the alarm on the door. And then finally, you have a self-closing, self-latching door. Those are the 5 approved barriers in the state of Florida. The problem is, and our foundation is trying to work to educate and hopefully pass some laws, but the problem is that that law that was put in place in 2000 has grandfathered all of the pools built before 2000. So none of those pools are required to have a single thing protecting that pool. The issue is, in Florida, most of those pools were built in the 80s and 90s. And so it's so important when, let's say, a family is moving here from a different area or from a different state even, and they're unaware that they're buying this brand new home and everything is up to code except for their pool. They have no clue. And so we want to educate parents on that. But so barriers are so important. So barriers are going to delay access to the water, and they're not going to drown proof your child. Okay, they're not going to prevent all drownings, but they are going to delay access, which gives you time, and time is so important when it comes to drownings. With barriers, it's just really important that families use them properly. If someone does have a pool fence or a pool net or something in place, we don't want them to automatically assume that my child is safe now, that I have this. Children are able to, young children, I mean, my child was one pushing our kitchen chairs across the kitchen to be able to climb into the pantry and get things out of the top part of the fridge. They just do. Kids are curious, they're smart, and they learn from us. And so with a pool fence, it's really important that families know if they have a pool fence, they need multiple layers of protection. That's not enough. A pool fence is not enough. You need a pool fence and a door alarm. You need all of the things. If I have a pool again, ever, it's gonna be all 5, because I wanna make sure that I minimize that risk and bring it close to 0, because I know how quickly they can occur and how devastating it is. But it's so important that families take note and that they understand that even if they do have a pool fence, a child can easily push lightweight furniture over to the fence and climb over. Or a child can watch and learn and see that you pull up the tab and can enter, they can do that too. So it's really important also to remove any and all toys in the pool when you're not in the water, because we don't want a child to ever see something in the water, want that thing, get their mind stuck on that, and find a way to go over there. So after barriers, our 3rd key of water safety is going to be swim lessons. Not all swim lessons are going to be the same, and not all of them are going to be the best option for your child. We enrolled our son Gunnar into swim lessons for over a month, probably about a month and a half before my daughter was born, and we paused, and he developed 0 skills in that water that would have been able to save his life when he accidentally fell in. And so we recommend survival swim lessons. With survival swim lessons, you're going to the swim instructor every single weekday, so 5 days a week for 10 minutes a day, and you will see skills being developed within weeks instead of months or years. And children will learn how to float, which is so incredible. So you're talking about as young as 6 months old. As long as that child is able to sit unassisted, they're going to be able to learn to float with survival swim lessons. And there's many different types of survival swim lessons, different names and things that you can take your kids to. Normally they're in backyard pools, but some YMCAs or other entities, some community pools like in Winter Park, they have them. And you'll be able to get your child into those survival swim lessons. Now, swim lessons, that is the only way your child will be able to save themselves if for whatever reason the adult supervision lapse, the barriers lapse, and they will be able to get into the water. I'm going back to barriers. So the other thing with barriers is that there's also human error. So if you have a pool fence and let's say you have older siblings and they forget to close the fence all the way, or you have a pool man attending the pool and they don't close it all the way, or there's a storm or a hurricane and it gets kind of messed up and there's ways for the children to get in, we have to make sure that human error is not going to be an issue either, which is why it's so important to have those multiple layers of protection. So the fourth key to water safety is going to be CPR. And that's if everything else fails, if your child ends up in the water and they are unable to swim and you have to pull them and rescue them from the water, CPR is going to be, as a parent, the last thing that we can do to help potentially save their life. And the amount of time that they're submerged underwater is going to be the difference between a non-fatal drowning, where your child is able to be pulled out of the pool and they're fine, and a fatal drowning where they pass away. So it's so important that we act quickly and that we know CPR and that we use rescue breaths, because we need to make sure that we're oxygenating the blood and that blood is circulating, because the water fills the lungs and there's no oxygen going to the brain. There is kind of another type of drowning. It's going to be a non-fatal drowning that occurs, but where there's going to be brain damage and the child is never going to be the same. So you have your child, but they're just unable to function, and there's a different range. So it really just depends. It could be small functionings that are disabled or altered, or it could be large functionings where they're set up on a ventilator and they can't walk or talk. It's really just devastating. And in the state of Florida, we lead the country in drownings every single year. Last year, there was 93 drownings in the state of Florida for children. And this year, there's already 56. There may be more. I checked a week ago. And so CPR is so important that parents know what to do and how to respond if a drowning occurs. And those are the 4 keys to water safety. So you have adult supervision, you have barriers, multiple barriers, you have swim lessons, survival swim lessons, and you have CPR with rescue breaths. As a parent, when you have young children, we think of the pool as fun, and it is. It's supposed to be fun. However, if a child does not have the necessary skills to self-rescue and save themselves if they were to fall in, we want parents to know that don't treat it as fun where a child has their own independence in the water. So it's important for parents to not put their kids in floaties and put their kids in puddle jumpers or put their kids in a life vest when they're in the pool. It's important that they differentiate that this is fun time, but you have to be with me. So if a child is unable to swim, the parent should be within arm's reach or holding that child in the water. And it's more fun for the kid. They're bonding with the parent and they can still play, but we don't want the kid or any of their kids to have full independence in the pool until they have those necessary skills. So that's one of the things that I would recommend to parents as they're giving getting swim lessons for the kids, or as they're thinking about it. Until that child has the full skills to self-rescue in the water, don't introduce the independence with a flotation device. And they shouldn't be worn in the pool regardless. Pool floaties, puddle jumpers, life vests, those are not for the pool. Life vest is for the open body of water if you're on a lake or a boat or in the ocean, but it's not for the pool. That's why it's U.S. Coast Guard approved, because, do you have a Coast Guard that watches the pool? No. I mean, it's not like U.S. Lifeguard approved, it's for the Coast Guard. And so they're approving it for the use in the ocean and open bodies of water. So if you ever see someone who's drowning, you may not even notice. Drowning doesn't look like drowning. Like if you're watching a movie or something and they're like, help me, I can't swim. Like that's not what you're gonna see. So first of all, I want you to recognize what it's gonna look like. The head's gonna be tilted back with the mouth up. The arms are gonna be under the water because they're trying to tread. So all you're gonna see is the nose and the mouth and the head like this. Everything else is gonna be straight down. So if you ever see someone in the drowning position, we wanna make sure that you know how to safely get them out. If it's an adult, you need to be very careful that they don't pull you under too. So you're gonna have to throw something out to them. So if you're in a pool, you can get one of those circular lifesavers that you can throw out, or a pool noodle. Like if you don't have that, get a towel or get creative. You wanna make sure that if they are drowning, that you are not going in there and pulling them out if they're conscious. Now, if they're unconscious, get in there and get them out as fast as possible and start CPR. As adults, we're bigger than kids. We can go in there and they're not gonna pull us under. So for kids, you can go in right away and scoop them up and make sure that you get them out and start CPR as well. It's hard to measure in regards to like a nonprofit foundation that's doing education. It's hard to measure
success.
Yeah, because, I don't know if what I've said or any of my touches that I've had has saved someone's life or like helped prevent a drowning. That would be the ultimate if I could ever be aware of that. I'm sure that it could have prevented drownings, because if I had the awareness that I'm talking about now, my son would have been alive. We couldn't afford a pole fence, so a door alarm you can buy for less than $10 on Amazon. You can get them at Home Depot and Walmart. You can get them for free at the Seminole County Library right now. And so if I was aware, like, I would have heard him exit the house and we would have been there in seconds, And so for me, it's hard to see a benchmark. Right now we have some swim lessons going on where we've provided scholarships for those students. We have 10 scholarships that we've awarded, and they are all with the Seminole County Fire Department. We have other swim scholarships that we're going to be awarding with a grant with Every Child a Swimmer. So we have those coming through soon too. But ultimately, I would love to see some legislation change, which we're going to be trying to push with getting things added on to that 2000 law with pools being grandfathered in. I mean, that would be really great, but it's really hard to put into words success in this type of work that we do.
Based on what you told me, I think it's success.
Thank you. You know what? Success was having 150 door alarms, having the community find out about it and meeting that need and having them show us that it's a need, and for them to be gone in 2 weeks, and then to be able to have other community members come and partner with us so that we can provide more, because we all saw the need. It's like everyone coming together for this one mission, that's success. We love it. I mean, we have wonderful partners, and we're this small little foundation, and we're trying to just spread this huge message, and hopefully we can reach all the families, and we're going to do our best to get there. First, a child will never be drown-proof. So there's just zero way to drown-proof a child, but there are steps we can take to completely minimize that risk to close to zero. And so in order to do that, the biggest thing that I would say would be to install multiple barriers and get them in swim lessons. Those are the biggest things that they can do, aside from when you're in the water, always watching your children the entire time you're in the water. Never taking your eyes off your kids, especially swimmers, because good swimmers can drown too. I mean, I don't know if you watched the Olympics, however long ago it was, but one of the synchronized swimmers, she held her breath for too long. She passed out and she was sinking underwater. And you see her coach in the pictures. It's fantastic. It's fabulous. You see her coach swimming up there, pulling her up. And, she was fine, made a full recovery because she was underwater for 5 seconds. But you always have to watch your kids if they're old and can swim and are expert swimmers on the swim team, or if they're brand new and just learned. You have to watch your kids. So in addition to always watching your kids at the water, you need to install multiple barriers, which are different layers of protection, so that you minimize that risk to hopefully prevent a drowning. And it's not even just for your kids. Maybe your kids are older, but what about friends of yours that have younger kids, or a neighbor? Or, if you have someone over or party and there's a younger kid there, you want to make sure that something this tragic and terrible never happens at your pool on your watch. You want to do the things that you can to make sure that it never happens, especially when it's at your home. Look, if you put all of those barriers that I previously mentioned, all 5 that are approved by the state of Florida, on your pool, I would feel very comfortable being around that water without feeling that gut, where's my kids, all the time. So will they be drown-proof? No. There's areas of concern in the home as well: bathtubs, toilets, 5-gallon buckets of water. All of those that I just mentioned, drownings have occurred in those over the last few years in the state of Florida alone. In regards to outside of your home, absolutely barriers and survival swim lessons. Well, in regards to the door alarm initiative that we're doing with Seminole County, we have hopes if we can spread it to, local counties in this area, we would love to do that. We're kind of working on that specifically for the door alarms. We need to get some grants and stuff so that we can have enough to fulfill all of their needs, not only for Seminole, but for the other counties, because families are seeing the need and they are making it a priority, which is incredible. So that's our main goal for this specific initiative. For the Gunnar Martin Foundation, for our water safety initiatives, we really want to reach parents. We want to reach families. We want them to know what we didn't know, in hopes that it would prevent this tragedy from happening and save them the heartache that we've had to go through. And so our goal is to reach parents. We're getting creative. We're going to try and push some things through to families directly. We have a goal of getting some legislation passed, which is important. We have a goal of providing more swim lessons and more scholarships for kids with families that are in need, and just families that don't have access to good swim lessons. And so those are our main goals. I would love to see some stuff with Airbnb changed, some legislation and regulations put on them. I would love to see, in regards to in-home daycares, I would love to see things change with that, so that pools that are in at-home daycares have a higher standard than the average pool. A lot of work to do, but little by little, we're gonna push forward, and we're gonna keep pushing forward and making sure that families are educated and that they have that awareness. Yeah, a couple things. The first thing is, if your child ever goes missing, like if you're at your house and it's like loud and you're like, oh, my kids are having fun, and then it's like so silent, as a parent, that's just like a trigger. If you have a pool in your backyard or a lake or a canal, always check the water first. If they're hiding in the closet, fine. Let them hide for an extra 3 minutes. But if they're in the water, you need to get them right away. So that's number one. Number two is, if they want to follow along, we provide water safety and resources on Instagram and Facebook and our website. So they can find us at info@thegunnermartinfoundation.com. That's our email address. The website is www.thegunnermartinfoundation.com. Our Instagram is @the_Gunner_Martin_Foundation. And then our Facebook page is the Gunner Martin Foundation. So they can message us and reach out to us there. And then the last thing that I want to say is this. Last year in the state of Florida in 2022, with all of the child fatalities in the entire state of Florida, drowning, car accidents, sleep-related, gunshot wounds, all of that, there were 10 times the amount of fatal drownings than there were for kids who died from an accidental gunshot wound. And so we as a society, as a country, as a state, as a community, we have put gun use on a pedestal, and we are all educated about it. We lock up our guns, we put them away, we don't load them, we keep them, away from our kids, because we know and we are aware of the danger. In regards to our backyard pools, the number one killer of children ages 1 through 4, we do not have that same urgency. And so I want parents to understand that 10 times more children are dying from pools than guns. We need to lock up our pools and put the same urgency on that as we do with gun control. We need to have that same urgency in regards to our backyard pools.